Hello, everybody, and welcome to Two Waygooks in Korea. My name is Steven.
My name is Josh.
And we are both English teachers working in South Korea right now. And this series is dedicated to just imparting some of the knowledge or experiences that we have experienced in Korea.
Or knowledged.
Or knowledge, or learned.
Or knowledge.
We done learned. Anything we done learned.
Or the things that we knowledged in here.
Yeah, we are English teachers again.
We are English teachers, all right. So what are we going to talk about today?
So today, on episode number 5, we are going to talk about the EPIK Orientation that we went to in August.
Yep. As you may or may not know, we came in through the EPIK system. And so EPIK has a mandatory orientation that all teachers must go through. It doesn't matter if you've been teaching before, like Steven has, or hasn't taught at all, taught at all, like myself, English. And yeah, you have to go to it. So yeah.
And we're only doing this now because the February orientation is happening very soon. So we wanted to kind of give you guys our knowledge because I didn't do much research before I came to Korea, which is sad, but I was just kind of whatever happens, happens. So I really did not know much about what orientation was like, what we'd have to do there. How about you?
Before I came to Korea, I tried to find as many videos of what apartments would look like, of what school life was like. I tried to, kind of give myself kind of feeling about what it'd be like, even though at that time I hadn't known what, I was getting myself into or where I would be. So orientation, well, first, it starts with the flight, right?
Yeah. So you're on your flight, however long it takes, 15, 16, 17 hours.
Saying goodbye to your mama.
Yeah. sit next to some strangers. Now, I will say that most everybody's flight, at least from America, we're both from America, most everyone's flight was not filled to the brim, but had a lot of EPIK teachers on that flight.
Yeah.
Whether they're sitting somewhere near you, usually you can find someone who is going to go to the same place you're going to go.
Just try to look for someone who doesn't look Korean or who is kind of wide-eyed and as anxious as you are.
Holding a Korean, like a book, learning Korean.
Yeah, especially from the States. I know you had to fly out. Steven is from Texas. I'm from California. He had to fly out from California. So there was a very good chance that, we were flying at the same time.
Yeah.
Because there's a specific time that they want you to get at the airport because they have shuttles. Now, you can come beforehand and stay the night at,
some people came a week before, went to Seoul, went to wherever. And
just kind of like partied it up before a little bit. But you have to be at the airport at a certain time. I think it's sometime from 10 a.m. until 10 at night or something like that. It might be different for February, but for us it was everybody had the same time. Yeah.
Well, actually, they split
that's right.
The orientation, because the August one is the biggest one by far. So they split half of the orientation, or half of the provinces go to one orientation, and half the provinces go to another one. So the dates are a little bit different on that part. But your recruiter or whoever's helping you should tell you which day it is, and you just make sure your flight lands on that date.
Yeah. So they just group it basically by province, so it's kind of closer to shuttle everyone over to what school they're at. So.
And for the record, you're not going to know, unless you're really lucky, like kind of our region was, you're not going to know which city you're going to be in until the last day or second to last day of orientation. So don't even, because that was one thing I tried to Google as much as I could Google, was when are you going to know which city you're going to be in? Are you going to be stuck in the boonies? And they ain't going to tell you.
They don't even tell you what level you're teaching, I think, until about the last few days of orientation.
Yeah.
So... it's normal. Don't worry, because even if you're teaching the same grade level, they're going to say this in orientation, but we're going to say it as well. It varies greatly from school to school, from, province to province. So.
You could, even if you knew everything about where you're going to be, it doesn't tell you anything. But so, you get to the airport, you're in Incheon International Airport, super nice airport.
Great airport.
But
fantastic.
Just keep in mind, Korea, just ask. If you need help, just ask.
Really, really, really ask.
Korea's really good about that, especially that airport. It's going to have a lot of places where you can ask for help. So
it is a little bit strange. If you're going to ask just any old Korean person, they'll kind of be, a little bit shocked
Yeah.
Because they mainly go to certain people to ask. There's like information desks, people with uniforms. Those are the people normally that Korean people expect you to ask. So if you ask some random Korean person, they might get a little bit shocked. They'll help you probably, but they'll be like, "Oh, I don't know why you're asking me." There's like an information booth.
Like a currency exchange person would be probably good because they probably know some English.
Yeah.
A little pro tip, I guess. There's 2 currency exchange places in Incheon Airport. There's one like before you exit out. So like I knew some people that kind of were panicking because they're trying to get all their stuff, and they're like, I gotta change money right now, and it's like, well, you can get your stuff in order, go outside and do it. Do it too. I think one of them gives you a better exchange rate. I don't remember which one. Yeah. But I think the one outside the airport does, but don't hold me on that.
And a lot of people will kind of save some money, put some money aside to go change it at a bank later on. That may be more difficult than you think, depending on how helpful your co-teacher is. Yeah. So definitely bring enough money to change just to survive for a while. Yeah.
Like I knew a person that only exchanged a couple $100s, and it was like she had to like withdraw money from her U.S. bank account. Yeah. Like at an ATM that costs,
Or you have to be like very, very careful about your spending, or like gifts you want to buy, foods you want to buy. Yeah. And me and Steven aren't really that style, so we just brought enough money to last us and to kind of just, get by.
Just throw on bitches.
Just make it rain.
Make it rain. But anyway, so all that said and done, we got on the bus. I got on the very last bus of the night, and you were also very late.
Yeah. So I was I think on the last 5 buses out. Yeah. Because they do make you wait a little bit.
Just for a number of kids to come so they don't waste buses, But our university, we went to Daejeon University, which was like an hour and a half away, but it's kind of up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. It's either a Buddhist or a Christian university.
Some religious university. Yeah. Just know that.
Which is important because they did that on purpose because they've had problems in the past on just people going fucking wild and just drinking all night and doing sorts of crazy shit. Yeah. So for our orientation, they placed us in the boonies, and it did its job relatively well. But the other orientation did not, so we can't really say to
how crazy it was on there. Yeah. But orientation definitely does feel like going to college all over again. Yeah. You're there all around the same age. Well, let's say maybe like the age range for normal, people going through orientation is about 20 through, we'll say, like 35. Right? Sure. That age range. And it's like you're going to college again. You're staying in dorms. You're eating in a cafeteria. And everybody is like friendly. They want to meet people. And that's,
because everyone's scared out of their minds to be alone.
And if you throw alcohol in there.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good, but sometimes
it's bad, right?
Not so bad. So aside from that, we got to the place. It was really late. It was pretty much bring your luggage up. You get a roommate. It turned out to be whoever was standing like next to you in line. And then you're off, and you go sleep. That's pretty much.
Whatever friends you made, like waiting at the airport for your shuttle or on the bus, that's who your roommate is.
Yeah. And so you go to sleep. Relatively nice dorms. You wake up the next morning very early.
Very early.
Pretty much the theme is very early,
very late.
Very late.
Very early, very late.
Now, we were in August, so it was freaking hot as a mother.
Hot as, ball sacks. Yeah. Just, humid.
So, seriously, very humid. Bring many, 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 either clothes to change into, or undershirts, or deodorant, or just something, because it gets nasty.
Yeah. And if you're going to come in during the February intake, it will warm up a little bit, but, depending on where you're coming from, it might be quite cold compared to what you're used to. So pack accordingly. There's no shame in wearing, the same, big poofy jacket if you're going to bring a jacket. Yeah. Because, honestly, if you're going to be trying to look good every day, looking fresh, get that out of your mind. You're waking up at, 6:30, 7 every day, going to bed at, 1 a.m. in the morning, and you're in class all day, or you're doing activities all day. You're sweating, or you're running around, so you're not going to look good. You ain't going to look cute. So
I mean, unless you just keep. I mean, yeah,
unless
you like this, you know. But so yeah, that brings us up to like pretty much every day for a week. It's just class, like food, class, food, class. You have kind of set classes you have to go to. You learn about lesson planning. You learn about what it's like. You learn about all sorts of things. Some are very helpful. Some are not helpful in the slightest.
Yeah.
And then you also have to learn. There's like a survival Korean class for an hour and a half at night, and it kind of
beware of that. Beware of that. It might be helpful. It might not be helpful.
Yeah.
Because honestly, how much Korean are you going to learn in like a week when you're learning all these other things as well?
Yeah, I was in the beginner level. I didn't know any Korean, so I learned some stuff. Like I learned how to introduce myself. Promptly forgot it like a week later.
Yeah.
But I'm not the best studier in general. So you learn it's an okay amount, but it's also good to figure out. Like pretty much the whole orientation is kind of figuring out who you're going to be around, because they split you up into groups, and it's groups for the most part based on the province that you're going to be in.
Yeah.
So we were in the Chungbuk province group number 5 or whatever.
Yeah, class 5. Class 5
and,
rolls deep.
Some people like. I found it depends who you are, but you can make a lot of friends. You made a lot of friends. Like, you're a friendly dude.
Yeah.
I'm not the greatest making friends. I found like 3 friends. I stuck with those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But, if they're not going to be in your province, you're not really going to see them.
It's going to be quite difficult to see them unless you really, really make an effort. And even then, you'll only see them maybe once a week. Yeah. So unless you are going to be in the same province, don't expect to see these people a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So try and try and try. I mean, you can't help it, you're going to be friends with, but try to find someone you can be sort of close with in your province. Now, you don't know if they're going to be near you in your province because you're not going to know where you're going to be until the very end. But a lot of it is kind of like friend roulette, because it's like, you're my friend, you're my chingu. What up, my chingu? Oh, you're 2 hours away from me? Yeah. Sorry.
So I had a roommate during my orientation. And you didn't really have a roommate during orientation.
Yeah.
And my roommate, I talked to him on Facebook, account a little bit, but honestly, I have not seen him since orientation.
Yeah.
And I consider, we were pretty good friends by the time we left orientation. We promised to see each other and all that. And it's just really, really difficult.
Yeah. And
he is in Seoul, actually. I've gone to Seoul plenty of times, but it's just hard to make time just to see one person when you're going to a specific place.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I didn't have a roommate because I was in the last bus, and just luckily I didn't have a roommate. I was like, oh, I'm so lucky. I get to walk around naked in my apartment. I don't got to worry about no motherfuckers. But the problem is that your roommate is like your buddy system. Like,
your buddy. Yeah.
It's your instant friend for the most part. I mean, unless you got a horrible
first day
roommate.
or so, yeah.
Yeah. And so my problem was like I didn't have anybody. Like for the breakfast the next day. Luckily I'm not so like. I made a choice. I'm pretty socially awkward at home, but I made a choice. I was like, I'm just going to sit down with some motherfuckers. I'm going to talk to them. But it's still much, much easier with your roommate to kind of just do it together.
Especially if you're shy, it kind of helps, because be prepared to be in large groups all the time. Your class will be about, 30 people?
Yeah. And
if you're going to be eating at a cafeteria, it will be full of people. You're going to go to different classes, different activities, just going to be people on people, just at least 20 people in one group all the time. So if you're a person who does well in, smaller groups, with a fewer amount of people, definitely try to, befriend your roommate, or find like kind of a few people like you like hanging out with.
Yeah.
Because it will be very, very stressful physically. Friendships-wise, making connections and relationships, and also just studying. You're studying so much. Yeah. So, yeah. And like,
my mind just went blank a little bit. Since I didn't have a roommate, I was spending a lot of time just introducing yourself to hundreds of people. You may not remember their name, whatever, but it's kind of like, I'm going to introduce myself. We're going to sit together. We're going to have fun. Maybe I'll see you again tomorrow. But having a roommate, or a good roommate, really, really, really helps.
Yeah.
Just your transition into the ocean of people.
Yeah.
So pretty much, like I said earlier, there's a lot of classes.
Tons.
But I will say, though, that like some of the classes even, they may change. Every orientation is probably different. Yeah. But, some of them were still not the most helpful. But I really encourage you to really try and get as much as you can from them.
I think if you're going to learn anything from these classes, they're obviously probably going to change because they ask us for feedback and they ask for feedback every time. Yeah. But depending on your class, just try to learn a bit about perspective, what you're expected to do, and what you're kind of here for, and just be prepared to throw away some of the things that you thought prior to coming. Yeah. So, yeah.
Like, for example, they will have people that come there and have this magical co-teacher and teacher relationship making magical lessons. And those are great lessons. They're great lessons. It probably took them a long time to perfect them, but that ain't gonna happen. And you need to understand that. Because when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, am I gonna have to do this every day? But luckily, 2 days later, we had another lecture that was like, that shit ain't gonna happen. Like, this is real talk. Like, your co-teacher probably not gonna be there, blah, 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 blah. So, take what you will from it. You just can't be pessimistic. Like, I met some people that were like, this bullshit, that's stupid. And it's like,
it's
don't
stupid,
be pessimistic.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And don't challenge it, okay? Because first off, even if you've been teaching in the States, you're in a different ballgame now. Yeah. You really, really can take some things that you learned in the States if you were a teacher or if you were getting your credentials like I was. I was getting my credentials in the States. And you have to throw them away. You have to be flexible. You have to be optimistic. Yeah.
We'll do a Waygooks on that one day. Just be flexible. Like
flexible.
That is the key in Korea.
Yeah. So, and that is the thing that they will echo over and over in all these classes. I'm sure with you, they will say,
just be flexible.
It varies. Is their catchphrase. Yeah. It varies. Yeah. It really does vary, though.
Yeah. And after all that class, you got to do some presentations. You get to know all these people. Yeah. 1 week later, which feels like a month.
It really does feel like a long time.
But it's only 1 week later. You get your places, and you kind of you go, right? You say goodbye to everybody. They bus you to your province, and they put you in a kind of a not stadium, a theater, right?
Yeah, a theater.
Your presenter introduces you, they pair you up with your co-teachers, and you out.
That's it.
Yeah, that day, you go, you meet your school, you meet your principals, you find your apartment.
Get your ARC.
Get your ARC. Apply for your alien registration card, which is really important. And it's just all these things are happening. And then, depending on your co-teacher, some of them will kind of ease you into it, like eat dinner with you, eat lunch with you, kind of help you with things.
Be your roommate.
Or they may just be like, see you tomorrow. Like school literally starts like 2 days later, or it depends how lucky you are. Some people got to wait a week before they had to teach. Some people had to teach like 2 days later.
Some people had to teach the next day.
Yeah,
like
some people had to teach the next day. Yeah. So literally, it's like shit happens fast, way faster than you could ever imagine.
But the thing is, you can't really prepare for it. There's only so much you can do. I had made kind of an intro lesson already, so I obviously just taught that. But I came in and I took over for a previous, guest English teacher. Yeah. And the school year starts in February. So I came in half the way through the year. Yeah. I guess he didn't really tell the students that he was leaving. So when I came, everyone was like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who is that? Yeah. And, the introduction lesson could work because nobody, knew who I was. So the first lesson that you always are going to teach is an introduction lesson.
Unless your co-teachers or your school tells you, no, you have to start with the book right away, which is what happened to me.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't really...
It varies. It varies.
But, I think we will do a kind of a Waygook on just the general setup of that first week of school or 2 weeks of school, because that would be way too much to talk about right now.
Yeah, it's just orientation, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other good tips. I have a MacBook Air. It does not have an Ethernet jack where you plug in the little internet thing. Now, I heard 1 billion times Korea is the best internet in the world. They do have really good internet, but that don't mean they got wireless. So that university did not have wireless in it. Yeah. So you have to either buy a dongle to plug in the Ethernet jack into, or you better bring a router yourself. That was a really big thing because I had no internet. Your phone's not going to work here, right? They had internet designated rooms.
Which, I mean, you don't want to be stuck in a room, using internet when you're supposed to be meeting people or spending time with other people.
Or Skyping your parents, in a public place. Also, it was really hot for us. There was no air conditioning in that room. I was sweating my balls off when I could have been in my room with air conditioning on.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really big thing. Trying to think of another kind of good tip I can think of.
Stay hydrated. Drink a lot of water if you can.
Yeah, especially, of course, if you're in the August intake. But I know the February one will be a lot smaller. I don't really know kind of the details. I live in a building in my city where a lot of February intake members are going to come and live in this building. So, maybe we'll do some stuff to, introduce them. Because when we got here, I remember the first day I got here, after the introduction, after this, I called one of my friends that I made, and I was like, I literally sat down.
How do I eat?
I sat down, and I was like, what the fuck did I just do with my life?
Yeah.
Unlike some of the other people that kind of came from college, I had a job for 5 years. I have a house. I have a car. I left all that shit at home, and I was like, what the hell do I do? And I had kind of a mini adventure trying to meet my friend who lives 30 minutes away with buses I didn't understand. Yeah. It was kind of a thing.
There's a lot of issues with a phone when you first get here.
Seriously.
So if you can get a rental phone, there's a lot of places they can get it. I think EPIK will recommend one for you. Yeah. But definitely be on top of that because
it makes your life so much easier. It does cost a fair bit of money. Mm-hmm. Minutes cost a lot in general. Yeah. But it really, really made, because Hugh did not have a working phone for a long time.
And I just cannot meet people. So difficult.
And you were wandering around for hours sometimes.
I would be if I don't show up, if I'm more than 30 minutes late, I'm not coming. Basically, don't expect me. So
it's really helpful to get a rental phone. Even if it costs you $50, $60, $70 for that first month, it's totally worth it. At least for our recommendation,
it's totally worth it. The other stuff, maybe yes, maybe no. I know a lot of people who their co-teachers went out and helped them buy a lot of things, like cleaning equipment and all that to help with their apartments and things like that. For me, it wasn't the same way, but I toughed it through, and you can too. Yeah. So, just don't feel like it's the end of the world if you don't have certain things. But a phone is definitely important. Even if you have an old phone from back home, try to cafe hop and get that Wi-Fi. Yeah.
If you have it at orientation, that's such a good way to just start getting other people's information if they have phones too. Because that first week, like I said, when you get to your apartment, it may or may not have internet. And it may take a month for them to set up internet in your home, right? So some apartments are newer and they're built in with internet, but my place did not, so I had to wait 3 or 4 weeks to get it, which means you don't have internet at home, you don't have a phone. If you don't have a phone, you're just in a foreign country with barely any contact with anybody, and it can really take its toll.
Trust me, it was hard. I'd lost my phone and my iPod within 2 weeks of arriving.
In a cab, right?
In a cab. And there's no way in hell that I'm going to get it back. And I didn't have internet in my place. Yeah. And so you got to be resourceful. But there's a limit to resourcefulness. Yeah. So try to make it a little bit easier for yourself.
Well, yeah. So definitely speaking about this, it's I think we really will need to do one about maybe the first month of working at school.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more I want to say, but I want to kind of stick with just orientation.
Yeah, this is about 25-minute long video already. So
yeah. But seriously, if you went to a college in another city and you didn't know anybody, you know exactly what you're going to be in store for here, because it is 100% college again. Some of you just finished college too. So maybe it's not that weird for you. Yeah. But it's,
we were a few years removed.
It's been a while since I've been in college.
We were working, before we came, so it was kind of like a flash.
Another actually orientation tidbit is that we talk about this quite a lot, which is, we meet a lot of people. I would bet only less than 20%, maybe less than that, actually like K-pop. The majority of people I talk and met to knew nothing about Korea. The only reason they came to Korea is because it has the best program, pays the most money, which is fine. I don't really care. That
you would be surprised about how few people came here because they like Korea.
Yeah. like never seen K-drama, never heard K-pop before, which surprised me because I was like, I want to go to a country where
I like
things I like
the
is what
culture.
things other people
I like the culture. You know, I like certain things, right? But some people that haven't even heard what Korean sounds like.
Yeah.
You know, some people have never eaten Korean food, seen Korean food,
yeah,
known anything else besides kimchi.
Yeah.
So just be prepared for that.
Yeah.
There are people like that.
You
might be people like that.
I think, well, I don't know if you were in there, but in my Korean class, like the best anecdote I have from orientation is everything in Korea is about PowerPoints. So we were reviewing something with PowerPoints. And it was a Gangnam Style PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you click on things, side comes out, Gangnam Style plays, and we're all singing, hey, you know, whatever, sexy lady. And this one girl was like, what song is this? And I'm like, everyone's like,
like this.
What? What? And she's like,
huh?
Yo, seriously, is this like a new song? Is this a hit song? We're like, you don't know Gangnam Style? And she was like, I never heard it. And like, are you from like a small city? She's like, no, I'm from like a blah blah blah. Like,
yeah, I think she was from like Georgia or something, or Florida, somewhere in the States.
Somewhere that was not a tiny city.
Yeah.
And she never heard a Psy, never heard Gangnam Style. We were like, her gentleman, nothing. And she wasn't like, we were like, are you like Mormon or something? Are you like Amish? I don't know. Like,
there wasn't anything like that would restrict her from hearing Gangnam Style. She just did not hear it.
But literally, it just for like 5 minutes in Korean class, everyone was just like flabbergasted.
Just asking her, you've never heard it?
You seriously, like,
No,
we Googled this song, you've never heard it. She's like, nah. You hear the remix, you didn't hear this. Like, nah. It's like, do you not go on YouTube? It's like, I go on YouTube a lot. It's like, what?
Gangnam Style.
Gangnam Style. Or Gangnam Style.
Gangnam Style.
But all right, so that is our episode about EPIK Orientation. If you have any questions,
just come at us. If you're in the February orientation and you're watching this and you
have some questions,
you need to meet some people. If you're in our area and you recognize us, because you by now we've kind of have a little small network.
Ain't no one recognize me. This motherfucker though, people recognize.
If you see a dude with purple hair, I might have changed it actually by then. If you see a dude with purple hair or wear hats all the time, or some dude wearing glasses like this,
every Korean ever.
Get at us.
Give a shout out.
Yeah, get at
Just
us.
be like, Chingu ma Chingu. We'd be like, yo. But look forward to. I think we'll definitely do one about teaching, and other Waygooks that we might have. And also check out our podcast, This Week in K-pop. We talk about K-pop every week. You can find us on iTunes, on YouTube, and of course our video reactions if you care about that kind of junk.
Yeah.
Right. So until next time, it's
4:30
a.m. on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Let's go.
Bye.
Bye.